I want to talk about this. So, staying on the same subject, it's funny because Rita recently went to New Mexico. So Rita's on a journey to travel all the 50 states and across the world. I've never actually visited New Mexico, but I didn't realize that New Mexico was actually blue and their governor was a Democrat. I didn't realize that. New Mexico is one of the few states in the United States of America that actually swung in favor of Kamala Harris. Yeah. California, New York, New Mexico, DC, all of those places they went Kamala. And New Mexico, right? And so New Mexico's governor recently appeared on MSNBC to denounce Trump's deportation methods. Check it out.
Today, the Washington Post is hosting its third annual Global Women's Summit. The event will feature powerful women panelists and speakers from across the political spectrum,
Not the Women's Summit,
including RNC co-chair Laura Trump, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and our next guest, Democratic Governor of New Mexico.
That's a hell of a lineup. Nancy Pelosi, the New Mexico governor. I'm a pass on that. I'm a pass on sending my daughter to the New Mexico summit.
Michelle Lujan Grissom.
Governor, thanks so much for being with us. I want to understand better New Mexico and where it's moved, because we always talk about the states that were reliably Democratic that went Republican. But if you look at the map now, you've got New Mexico and Colorado, which is basically two blue states in a sea of red from Nevada all the way over to the East Coast. And I just did a quick check here. Republicans won, and of course, Pete Domenici, a Senate legend from New Mexico. And New Mexico always elected Republicans. Republican presidential candidates won 68, 72, 76, 80, 84, 88. George W. Bush even won in 2004. So why is New Mexico now blue when it's moved blue when so much of the country has moved red?
Well, I think a couple of reasons. One, New Mexico is a state that is clearly not interested in extreme positions. And the Republican Party today isn't moderate, isn't focused on the middle, isn't focused on working class Americans, even if folks voted assuming that they would support that agenda. New Mexicans know in this day and age that's not the case. Democrats in New Mexico, including me, are delivering in that regard. So free child care, investments in affordable housing, free college, so much investments in raising wages and opportunities that now New Mexico, because of those investments, went from 50th in child poverty to 17th. So really clearly demonstrating we know how to make a difference in family stability and opportunity. And that.
Somebody tell me what the tax rate is in New Mexico. I'm trying to understand it simply because I want to understand the demographics. I've never actually explored what it's like in New Mexico. Looking forward to visiting one day. I have never been there, and I want to visit all of the major cities in all 50 states. So basically what she's saying is handouts.
That's what people want at the end of the day. They don't want extreme positions. They want us to make sure that we're focused there, and they want to make sure that we're not taking away fundamental rights and freedoms. And the state squarely is in the column about making sure that women's rights and reproductive freedoms stay intact.
Governor Anton Daniels, you've said that you're not going to help with Donald Trump's aspirations to do mass deportations. I think there are a lot of people out there who are happy to hear that. What can you specifically do to stop his efforts moving forward as once he becomes president?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, as you know, it's unlawful. You can't use the military. You can't do mass deportation. So any federal administration, you should expect states, and I think you should expect some bipartisan support, not just by the Democratic governors, is that violating the Constitution and the law. We're not going to do that. We ought to be working on making sure that violent criminals and criminal activity is stopped everywhere. There isn't a state that isn't interested, whether you're an American citizen or not. And he effectively, Trump, killed the bipartisan border deal, not the.
So she's still got the same talking points as Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Got it. All right. I'm going to look at a little bit more of this interview, but let me just give a little bit of insight. Number one, Americans realize that Republicans are not extreme in their views The left is the ones that went extreme, and that's the reason why y'all still talking about reproductive rights when you haven't lost anything. All Republicans are doing is saying, hey, let's get back to being normal, policing our borders, not letting people come over here illegally. Reproductive rights is not necessarily a right. However, you're using it as a form of contraception of eliminating babies and championing that. We don't want higher taxes. We want lower taxes. And we want to deliver on what traditional family used to look like. I don't know where any, and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just curious. I want anybody inside of the chat, somebody, anybody, and you know, the chat is my co host. Anybody inside of the chat, y'all tell me what extreme view are Republicans espousing at this point? I'll wait. What extreme view is Republicans trying to implement right now? And please don't give me no mythical nonsense. Give me something for real. What extreme view are Republicans trying to communicate to the people that is so outrageous? If you come over here illegally, you shouldn't be here illegally, and you need to get out. If you break the law, you need to get out. I'm not really sure because, again, I went through a whole list and I did a live stream of this. I went through a whole list of the different values to see if it was anything that I actually aligned with Democrats, the current Democratic Party. And I don't really know of anything. I mean, I don't understand why we can't say that you're a biological male, you're a biological woman, you should not be using a women's bathroom if you was born as a man. That is crazy to me. It's crazy to me. You know what I think? You know what I believe? I believe that we need to let all of these people that are here legally, I think we need to let them go to New Mexico. Every state that stayed blue outside of Chicago, and the only reason I say outside of Chicago, Illinois, but outside of Chicago is because I support Chicago Red over there in Chicago. I love them. I love them. I like Danny. I like all of those people that's rocking out over there. I've had them on my platform. Hopefully, I can get them on there this week to give me an update of what's happening on the ground. I absolutely, shout out to my girl Mika. I absolutely want for Chicago to flip red. And so the way we got to do that is we got to continue to hold this mayor and these legislators accountable, including J.B. Pritzker. However, all of the rest of these blue states and blue cities, I think that we should overwhelm them and make sure we ship all the illegal migrants over there and see how they can handle it.
The first time that he's done that. We need more agents. We need more collective effort so that we're bringing border security and holding people accountable where they are. Disrupting family status and the economy, inhumane, cruel, unfair, discriminate policies that, again, are illegal on their face. We are not going to cooperate in any way in that effort.
And I believe that all of these, and let me add something else into this. I also believe that all of these blue cities should also forego federal funding if they don't comply to the federal government's mandate, according to how we need to be operating and protecting our borders and the laws that's on the books already. If they don't abide by the law, I believe that these cities and these states that turn blue and say that we are not going to work with the federal government, I think that the federal government shouldn't work with them. Leave them to themselves. Chicago has already said that they're not interested in working with the Trump administration and doing the right thing. New Mexico's governor is now drawing a line in the sand and saying that we're not going to comply. So at some point, you got to give them over to themselves and stop holding their hand and stop protecting them against the thing that us and people with logical sense are saying makes the most sense for us. Okay, well, then that means that you don't want federal funding. You want to close yourself off. Why do we continue to support these people if they're not supporting us? If they continue to advocate for the things that's worse for the United States of America, why should they receive? What? Because remember, federal funding comes from us. all of us. So it's one thing to say, okay, well, we should let Chicago suffer. But then it's another thing when Chicago and Illinois is petitioning for federal dollars that we all are putting into. And so that's how I look at it. I look at it from the lens of an investor. I'm an investor in the United States of America because every single time that I get paid or every single time that I file my taxes, they take hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars. And I got to pay payroll taxes. I have to pay sales taxes. I have to pay business taxes. And so if I am the person that is funding the federal government, that means I'm an investor in this country, which is why I'm so passionate about it. And why should my tax dollars, my money, because remember, these legislators are being paid by us, the taxpayers. Why should our monies go to supporting people that are against America's interests?
So, Governor, let's get your response to something else that the president-elect has proposed, which is eliminating the Department of Education. If that were to happen, what sort of impact would it have on your state and its students?
Devastating. It's devastating impacts. New Mexico has a much higher per capita average of kiddos who need special education interventions and supports.
So y'all room 9. So everybody in New Mexico is room 9? Is that just a bad gene pool or what? Don't worry about it. We'll get there.
This notion that we aren't going to fund that we're going to go just to vouchers, that we aren't going to make sure that there's really equality inside a school system. Look, my sister in the 60s was one of the very first special education students in the state of New Mexico, and I would argue probably anywhere in the country. And we've come a long way, but we need to do much better. And a lot of that is related to not having enough maternal and prenatal care, not early interventions. We are shifting that dynamic, as I talked about earlier. Not having billions of dollars and an accountability metrics is devastating. And that's just on the special education side. We're a majority state, not doing
and that's the problem.
Investments for Hispanic students and Native American students is tragic, and we are finally moving the needle by reintroducing the science of reading, and we're seeing dramatic increases in our literacy scores. They want to abandon all of it. It will have devastating both financial and school access components, including transportation for New Mexico kids. And again, we will fight it. We will also put our own investments. If that occurs, we aren't going to let kiddos fall further behind anywhere. And we will do that as a collective in the Southwest.
So that is New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham joining the Morning Joe on MSNBC. We like to source our information from everywhere. We don't want to live in an echo chamber.